Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete from Anxiety here. Welcome in today's episode. I appreciate y'all being here so much. Let's talk about a few things real quick. The Pete vs. Anxiety Team Anxiety Facebook group. Are you a part of it? You're not? What are you waiting for? The link's down here in the description down below, or go to Facebook and search Pete vs. Anxiety. Then look for the Team Anxiety Team page and join it today. Why not? You can join and help. It'll be great. Yeah, like right now. Hurry up. Stop what you're doing, pause this video, go do it right now. But anyways, let's also talk about the Pete vs. Anxiety YouTube page. If you're here right now, you're probably following it most likely. If not, head on over there, subscribe, be sure to like and comment on the videos and let me know, because all that stuff really helps, guys. I really appreciate it. And help me break the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. But anyways, guys, let's get in today's episode. I'll have a great one. Thank you so much again. And as I always say, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is today.
Guys, welcome to an exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety here on the Oracle Talk Radio Network. My guest today is the host of the Snackable podcast and author of the upcoming book, Trigger Happy 2, the one, the only, Brandon W. Hahn. How you doing, Brandon?
I am spectacular, Pete. How you doing?
Great, man. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll lead into the book eventually.
Well, myself, where can I start? I'll just introduce myself as a mental health advocate wholeheartedly, someone who really cares about exactly what your intro said about breaking the stigma around every type of mental health diagnosis, as well as I'm also an author, and I would consider myself a good writer. And I've authored some chapbooks of poetry. I'm a poet at first off, but poetry is something really hard to kind of get into as a livelihood. So I decided to write a self-help book, and it's called Trigger Happy, kind of a self-help book. And that came out in April of 2023. I'm looking at for it to become a Canadian bestseller, probably by 2150. It'll be a Canadian bestseller, and the next one comes out in a couple of weeks. Actually, it's called Trigger Happy 2 Glimmer Edition. It is the follow-up to Trigger Happy, and that's me being an author. I can be a little bit of a comedian as well. I honed my chops at mental health advocacy speaking by doing some stand-up in downtown Toronto for about 6 months. Met some really cool people. Yeah, met some really cool people, and kind of networked my way around. If I can do stand up in front of drunk people, then I can do mental health in front of diagnosed people. So that was quite a while ago, and I'm ready to kind of jump into the pool of advocacy and authorship and comedy again. And I've got a lot behind me, so I'm really hoping that this will be my career, and it's something I love, so I won't have to work a day in my life.
That's all. Hey, listen, I'm trying to do the same next thing. So let me ask you about your podcast really quick. So when did you start doing that? I mean, I love the concept. It's very
snackable mental health. Yes,
snackable mental health. It's so great, because what is it? It's like it's what does this slogan go? It's like it's mental health in a snackable size or something like that. That's such a great wording.
Yeah, I came up with I was like, you know what does this world need? This world needs small bites of mental health quips, bites, snippets of mental health audio.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I do on the site is snackablementalhealth.ca is the official website. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on Rumble, Instagram. There's a page, and on Facebook there's a group. Snackable Mental Health was my brainchild in about the spring of 2024, and I said I got to get this out there, and I hired a brilliant woman named Karen Lloyd, who runs K Media out of St. John, New Brunswick, and Canada. And she basically put the lipstick on the idea, and we sent it out there. And now it became an official podcast in September of last year.
Hey, same time we did. That's awesome.
And we've been running. We've got probably a dozen interviews done with professionals from the arts sector and the professional mental health sector. I like to use the term across the board. Across the board meaning everybody has in every situation has to deal with their own mental health. Yeah. So it's not just the professionals or the diagnosed people with conditions that have to deal with it. It's everyday people. It's people that are on the high end of things and on the low end of things. And I thought, let's throw out 3-minute quick clips here and there, and let's do some interviews of, between 20 and 40 minutes. And what we're doing with the interviews now is, instead of putting the entire interview up, we're cutting it into short bits of really good stuff, as opposed to, listing all the ums and ahs and all the pauses and whatnot, or stuff that really doesn't need to be said. We're cutting it into snackable sizes. And that's really it, Pete. That's it. That's snackablementalhealth.ca, as well as the author. I've got books left. You can buy them on the website, simply by filling out a form and sending it to me. It's not through Amazon or anything like that. I'm just doing it, and I'm fronting up the costs for the postage too. So I'm not really making too much money out of it. It's not about the money; it's about the message.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can get T-shirts and stuff to promote Snackable as well, just to get the word out that this is a very real thing that we're doing here. And
that's funny. It's funny that you say Snackable, remember? Because that's how me and Brandon actually met. I reached out to Brandon's original podcast page, and that's how we actually linked up, because I was like, oh my God, I love the name. That's so great. Can you tell me more? And it turns out that Karen is actually the one that's running that account. So then Karen told me about Brandon. She said, oh, hey, listen, I've got this person that runs it, Brandon. Let me tell you about his book. I'm like, ooh, book. Okay, first off, you caught my attention. I love books. Okay, books are great. And so she had told me about Brandon's original book, Trigger Happy. The first one, I was like, okay, that's such a great name. So how did you come up with the name for Trigger Happy, dude? Because that name, the book just grabbed my attention instantly. I was like, ooh, I like this.
I was going to call it, Pete, initially, I was going to call it Off the Top of My Mind. And I thought that was a really good title. And then I was just sitting there brainstorming one afternoon, spitballing, throwing the ball against the wall and whatnot. And I was like, you know what? Trigger happy. That sounds like something that could be a buzzword about things that, because a lot of people are speaking about triggers these days. And I was thinking, we could hit it from a couple of angles, and I'll call it Trigger Happy. And a couple of people said, well, that could be a little bit of, people might take it the wrong way. I'm like, please don't take it the wrong way. So I put Trigger Happy, and on the same thing on the cover, it's kind of a self-help book, so people can be addressed as, oh, triggers, okay, not bullets and guns. So
right, I love that. I love that little subtext you put in there, because that made me laugh.
Kind of a self-help book.
That was so great.
Not really, but kind of.
It's like kind of a book, maybe it'll help you a little bit in the end. But dude, that was such a great title though, because that was caught me first, and I saw that part, and I just started dying. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to meet this guy, definitely, because if you have that,
that's wonderful. I'm glad there's one person out there that thinks that.
I thought it was great, honestly, man. I love comedy too. I had another guest on the show named Dave Morey. He talks about his own mental health through comedy. He actually teaches comedy classes. I don't remember what city he's in. I think he's in LA. But he's out there teaching people how to make light of their own situations and things like that. So when you said comedy, I was like, oh yeah, Brandon and I are going to get along real well now, because Dave and I were joking during his episode about things, and he would make jokes about like suicide and things like that. But it's because Dave has gone through these things. Yeah. And Dave's point was like, hey, listen, if you can't laugh at yourself, why laugh at all? You know what I mean? Like,
this day and age too, it's really hard to make people laugh, or it's hard to make people understand the laughter as well. So you really got to watch what you put out there. Unfortunately, I do have a triggerless mind, and sometimes I blurt out stuff unintentionally, like I draw a blank and I just say a bunch of stuff and I don't realize I've said it. And in that can be a very, very awkward conversation if I blank out and say some stuff.
We call that diarrhea of the mouth, sir. Okay, that's what we call that.
Yeah, that's funny, Pete. I had a psychiatrist tell me that years back. I went in with a whole agenda of mental health concerns to this psychiatrist, and he told me I had diarrhea of the mouth, and I said, "Just give me my damn pills, then."
What did he say?
And after that, he was no longer my psychiatrist.
What did he diagnose you with, though? I'm kind of curious.
I've seen probably, and I shit you not, I've seen maybe 24 psychiatrists in my long career of mental health experiences, and the first one was diagnosed schizophrenia, and down the road it was downgraded, and then it was switched to bipolar,
Yeah.
It's never been PTSD, but I think there's a little bit of that in there.
Yeah.
Depression, mania, which is the bipolar aspect to it. And now they've settled on low-grade schizoaffective. So, and schizoaffective is sometimes you have you have schizophrenia, and sometimes you have bipolar, and it can be worse than schizophrenia, or it can be better. And I have a low-grade version of that right now.
So you don't hallucinate at all, do you at all? I know I only asked this question because I know I interviewed somebody that had schizophrenia, and that's the biggest stigma people have is they automatically think that you. I think they resort to a beautiful mind, if anything. They're like, oh, like he was
Yeah, I
hallucinating or
mean,
everything, you know?
yeah, like A Beautiful Mind really that it did hit it on the head, but I mean, he was really seeing people,
Yeah,
like he was really seeing them. And that for the diagnosis of schizophrenia is very rare to have concrete visual hallucinations. Normally, with schizophrenia, in my experience, wholeheartedly, it's auditory.
yeah,
Uh, it's auditory. I have a thing called, I believe they're called peripheral hallucinations, where I see little glimpses of things in the corner of my eye, and I'm like, monster, monster, or something, or cameraman, something like that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and yeah, and so yeah, it's hallucinations are they weren't really too much of a part of my experience, but the auditory definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
see, the person I talked to, Dale, he was the same way. He said that it was auditory than anything. I know he mentioned that because he was like, "Yeah, a lot of people think you hallucinate." I'm like, people need to stop. I mean, this is gonna sound fucked up. Stop reading books, but at the same time, stop like looking at them and assuming that's what you're gonna see when you read these books. These are just symptoms that these people could have, and I think that's where the great thing with this show is. Though, when I invite people on, you find out different people have different conditions. You know, we found out one lady, one lady I'm still talking today that she's a lead singer of a band. She has BPD, which is borderline personality disorder. In
That's a
her
big one.
experience,
That's getting diagnosed a lot these days, and that's a difficult one.
yeah, and it's interesting to see how everybody reacts differently with it too. We've had somebody with DID on the show, and that was an interesting one too, like to see because it really puts it in perspective for you when you're watching it. It's not so much
Absolutely,
personalities;
Pete. I'm
it's more little
very.
ticks.
That's one of my little positive symptoms as well, but off the cuff of schizoaffective is I do dissociate quite often, especially in social circles.
Yeah.
And I don't realize I'm doing it when I do it. And my wife catches it and says, "Oh, Brandon's just dissociating."
Yeah,
and we kind of
my wife does that too. She'll dissociate a lot of times as well. So
oh
and
wow,
I'll just just let her do your thing. I'm like, I don't bother, and then, but yeah, DID was an interesting one though because it used to be called multiple personality disorder.
that's
For
right.
everybody else remembers, and everybody always thought it was different personalities, but really it's not. If you watch the interview, you can watch the little ticks of her changing so much, but you can see them as it goes. And it was just interesting to see to me because I was like, dude, this is like, and I asked a bunch of people, like, listen, how do I confirm this is real? I said, because this is what I'm watching. I said, because a lot of people go on. Well, some people say they have it, but not a lot, though. This person, 100%, I could see it, though, because you could see the little ticks of things that change. Just some
Yeah,
slight little notions, like what it
but
actually is versus
but
what
yeah,
people think
isn't
it is.
like isn't like that across the board with almost everybody these days that if you do experience what the mental health concern is to be, sometimes you see it everywhere.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
and
not
it's
you, it's them, but it is actually you, but it's them, but it's your world, and in your world, whatever, like, I'm whatever comes your way is, I think, part of the fabric of the universe. Really is just like, this is happening in my world right now.
yeah,
I'm not at all broken by it, but it's just, yeah.
right. No, man, I agree. It's just interesting to see though because since we've done this show, we're at 100 plus live interviews so
Yeah,
far.
I'm really
We
happy for you. This is lifting off at exactly the right time.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. When I got first started the show back in September as well, we started September 15th live here in Oracle, and it shot off like a rocket, dude. Within the first like 2 months, I was already booked to the end of the year. So then I
Yeah,
ended adding a 3 o'clock time slot for Mondays, and then that
Nice.
shut off at the end of the year. And then when it came mid-November,
Well, I hope I can do something for you, buddy. I'm probably on the lower end of the viewer spectrum, but yeah, let's see what we can do. We've just started. We're gonna keep flogging this horse.
Right, everybody that comes on this show is an all-star to me. Okay, Brandon, let's make sure that's correct. If I invite you to be here, it's because I want you to be here, because this is my show. I ultimately control who comes on here. I don't care how popular they are to how low they are. I invite everybody to come join me and come talk to me, because everybody needs a space to talk about something. And that's the great thing, is this is a safe space to discuss all this great stuff. So Trigger Happy, okay? So the idea of the book, how did you come up with it, though? I'm telling you, man, I just love that title. It's so much fun.
A long time ago, probably mid 90s, a buddy of mine who works in the financial sector came across a book that he's had on his nightstand for ages. It's called God is My Broker, The 7.5 Laws of Spiritual and Financial Success. It's called God is My Broker.
That's a good title.
Where is it? Do I have it here?
That's a great title, man. I'm not going to lie. That is an actual great title of a book. Like, God.
Sorry, I'm just leaving you for a split second.
No, you're good, man. We're trying to get a visual aid for everybody, the visual learners out there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is Trigger Happy. And there we go.
There you go.
That's the actual book with the little bit of bowl of cereal. Trigger Happy, kind of a self-help book. And that's the book itself.
I love the book title, man. I'm telling you, this bowl of cereal is the greatest part of it all. I'm telling you.
And I'm cool with copies, so just sign up to snackablementalhealth.ca and go to the shop. This is God is My Broker.
Okay. That's the one you were telling us about. Okay.
God is My Broker, and it was written by a dude named Christopher Buckley in the 90s. And what the reason that I took so much time doing that is that this book actually changed my life in a spiritual way, in a financial way. And what he said was, if you want to get rich in self-help, don't keep reading self-help books, write your own self-help book. And that was basically the biggest takeaway I had from it. I'm like, and that was a long time ago. So I'm like, this was mid 90s. I'm like, you know what? I'm eventually going to write a self-help book. Right. And, 25 years down the road, I did. So, yeah.
That's great.
That's how Trigger Happy happened.
Yeah, and I thought, I'm telling you, man, as soon as I saw that book, Karen sent me a cover of it, I was laughing hysterically. I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm telling you, man, I'm a big energy guy. So like, I just could sense your energy right off the bat from us having a conversation. I was like, yeah, I need this guy. I need him to come right away as fast as possible. So,
well, I'm very flattered. Thank you very much. I don't hear that very often.
It's hilarious. I'm telling you, man. I have a different sense of humor than most people, so I find these things hilarious. I thought it was great. The title of the book caught me. I was like, yeah, he's right in my market for this one. Now,
yeah, go ahead.
So what I was going to say is what led into book number 2, though. I mean, you got the first one going, and then you're like, hey, listen, especially the fact that it says Glimmer Edition.
Trigger Happy 2 Glimmer Edition has not dropped yet. It's going to drop probably by the end of the summer for sure.
Hey, there you go.
We'll have copies available, and I'm also I'm in the Toronto area, so I'm going to be dropping by the local bookstores and doing some signings and some launches with both books now. And Trigger Happy 2 Glimmer Edition. Does this look like it's like Paranormal Activity kind of video behind me? I think it's the twinge of the green. It's got the green.
I'm looking at the door in the back corner. I'm waiting for the door to open. I'm like,
gonna suck me into the closet. Yeah,
right. We're just gonna see Dave get taken into the closet to the right there. Like, no, Dave's coming out to get Brandon. Oh God,
yeah,
no.
That's right. The last 2 seconds of the show, I get sucked into the closet.
Right.
Yeah. So Glimmer Edition, with Trigger Happy, I focused on the fact that we all have triggers for all of our trauma. Yeah. Most of our trauma happened when we were children. At times when we were children, we didn't realize it was even trauma, but it's traumatic now as an adult because you know that was bad. Yeah. And that when we reach back into our childhood traumas or we regress or whatever that is that happens to us that affects us traumatically, I started looking at what the glimmers can be inside that memory or that traumatic incident. And using mindfulness and something called cognitive behavioral therapy, you can transform that negative traumatic experience into something called a glimmer. Okay, so this happened to you. You were, let's say, you were molested by the kid down the street, or by somebody between the ages of 0 to 15, and you knew it was wrong, and you remember that wholeheartedly. What happened in that? I don't want to use always molested. Everyone's like, that's the main one, really, though. But what happened in that period of time that you remember? That did your parents buy you that Star Wars Snow Walker battery powered robot thing that year, in the same year that happened, and you had so much fun playing with that? There's a reason we hang on to these memories. There's a reason they're called trauma. But it's about how I don't want to say let it affect us, but about how we can transform these negative experiences into something that doesn't cause us health deficiencies or mental health deficiencies. Oh my God, I've been through so much. Try to focus on, okay, this happened in 1983.
Yeah.
Well, 1983, Indiana Jones dropped the year before, or Van Halen was about to come out with a great album or something like that. If you can nail down the exact time and that this thing happened to you, that you say, oh my God, how did that happen? We can find a way for you to instill a positive memory in its place, so maybe the traumatic episode won't happen as fierce as it did when you first noticed it in your psyche. Does that explain anything?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm listening. Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. You try and get a more of a
It's a glimmer. It's what this happened. My mom made the best roast beef dinners in that time. I can remember trying roast beef and Yorkshire pudding for the first time, or something like crazy like that. Just trying to transform it so that it's no longer affecting you in a way that needs you to take medication.
Yeah.
But maybe that medication, as like I'm on meds. I've been on meds since 1992, and not the same meds. That's a whole different story, Pete. But yeah, so 30 years later, and mental health medication all down the pipeline. But yeah.
Well, that's something that's shocking that you think about it, because a lot of times it seems like in the beginning, when a lot of people started having mental illness in the 90s, you think about it, they threw a lot of pills at things because they didn't know. They're like, okay, well, let's give you all this stuff and then we'll see what happens. And it's almost like you're the guinea pig to figure out what works and what doesn't work, And
I've been called that before. I've been called a guinea pig. Yeah,
but you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's very stigma-induced guinea pig, but yeah.
But you know what I'm saying, though? You think about it, because all the medicine they just threw at things, so they were just like, okay, well, let's just give you a bunch of stuff, and then they turn these people into
maybe this will work. Yeah, I was zombied out on Stelazine. Was the worst one I had, and Haldol.
Yeah,
Nazanan was another one. All these like archaic, early, like lobotomizing drugs.
But you know what I'm saying, though? It's like it's so interesting because they just threw it all in. And I have someone close to me that said the same thing. That's why they didn't like taking them, is because they weren't themselves afterwards. It's like,
that's right.
But it's
like you can notice people that are on the wrong medication too.
You know what I'm saying?
I can say that because I've been there. I'm like, that guy's on some medication that doesn't really work for him physically. That's for damn sure.
Right, and it's so interesting because there's a guest we had on the show that's funny you say molestation, because he was molested in, like, what did he say, 1950 something. And normally we're taught if something happens to say something to someone. Well, he did. He told two therapists, in fact, and he was like, I told them both, and they both just kind of brushed it off. And it was interesting to hear, because now you're getting a perspective from 1950s that how they really addressed a lot of things, and it didn't really cover a lot of stuff. Especially that, it's like everybody wanted him to go talk to somebody, but then when they did, and he told them their problems, it's like, Well, now, so he didn't tell anybody till 30 years later when he was married. And he told his wife about it and everything like that, and it was so interesting to see like how they handle things then versus now. Because if you think
But can you
about it,
imagine, Pete? Can you imagine carrying that with you for 70 years?
you know what I'm saying? Like, could you just imagine that? It's got to be rough, man. There's no way that it didn't affect him socially and things like that, and having to see the person. If he had to see the person again, just the thoughts in his head that would just start racing, the PTSD that
Yeah.
would get caused from that alone.
But then, like, how old was the person that did it? Were they the same age, or was it
No, I think they were older. He didn't really say. He said that they were a little older than him. That's all he really said when he was telling us about it. So I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. Because I've had several people to see. There's another person that said it was her grandfather that was doing
Oh
it.
my goodness.
And she had to
Yeah,
see him
see,
all
like,
the time.
yeah, like, what do you do though? Like when it's all like that, like it's not just, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so interesting because it's just like these people are doing it, and then when you're told to tell them, and then you tell them, and it's like, okay, now you're telling me not to say something, and now I'm saying something, and you're ignoring me, and it's like, well, what kind of message are we sending at this point? You're just like you're telling me to say something, I say something, you don't
Yeah.
say, and it's so interesting.
I've had so many hours logged in with psychologists, counselors, and psychiatrists, and I've dropped the sexual thing a few times, like the molestation thing a few times, and
Yeah,
we've never really, like, for me, pretty much didn't happen. There were 2 incidents that happened when I was younger,
yeah.
and for me, like, and they're like, you know what, Brandon, everybody has that, and I'm like, not everybody does, but
Wait a minute. They told you everybody has that? That's
I'm
so
like
fucked
curious.
up.
Everybody has something traumatized, a sexual trauma in their life at some point in time.
Okay.
The sexual trauma that happened to me
Yeah,
happened in a group of children that were the same age.
yeah.
It was more like, and what they used to call it, Pete, was, oh, you've got a dog.
Yep.
There's a dog behind you.
Yes, there is.
What they used to call it was, I'll show you yours, I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Oh, okay. Now I
Or
see what you're
playing
referencing. All right.
or playing doctor.
Yep.
Or
Okay.
playing doctor or something like that. And that kind of lessened the blow as to making, like, this not be so traumatic. And it wasn't traumatic when I was experiencing it, but it's a trauma that you live, that you're like, well, that happened maybe a little bit too early.
Yeah, well, you think
And
about it, like we thought it was normal as kids, like let's take people back who aren't that old enough to remember that. But you think about it, we all thought it was just a normal thing, but at the same time, I don't think we realized the outcome of what we were doing, though. At the same
no,
time, though,
we didn't look into the future and say we're going to think terrible things about this incident.
right? Yeah. Okay, that makes
And there's
sense.
also
Now
a
that
lot of
makes
people
sense.
that don't remember their past. They just simply don't remember going through very much. And then there's the people that you run into that remember everything about their life.
Yeah,
I'm kind of one of those.
yeah.
And
No, that makes
I
sense.
have a very, very hardcore ruminating problem that's been with me for my entire life.
Yeah,
If something happens, I flog myself. I ruminate over it for ages until until my brain is, what's the word, finally set on letting it go.
yeah.
I've been working on my ruminating for so long, Pete.
Yeah,
And a lot of the time it's like, damn, why did I say that 3 years ago to that stranger?
yeah.
Like, there's that,
Yeah. No, I like to
why
call
did
it
I
the what
say
if
that to
moment.
that stranger 3 years ago? And that
Yeah,
stranger probably never thought anything about it again, but I'm the one saying, this.
yeah. You're so hyper fixated
I'm
on it. Yeah, it
still,
makes sense.
yeah, it's just ridiculous. Like that I can let that bother me to that level. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I hold grudges really hard with people sometimes, and it's not really bad thing I do, but like I'm once that's it, I cut you off. And if you really look at your star signs and stuff, they say the cancers are the ones that like listen, once they cut you off, that's it, they're done with you. And I'm
I hear
actually the
ya.
same way though, because my mom
Yeah.
and I, I'll tell you a little bit myself though. I had traumas when I was 10 years old. My mom dropped me off and abandoned me. And I didn't realize the effects it would have on me throughout my life,
That's terrible.
up until I was almost 40 now, where I started seeking therapy for help, and and it turns out that a lot of my rage issues I had was because something, especially if I get in the moments where people feel like people are just going to leave me, I go into a complete panic and I'll start getting real aggressive, and I'll go back to that moment, but I won't remember the moment. You know what I mean? I'll get that sense of feeling when it happened,
Yeah, and
and
for you, it's a feeling, not a memory.
and it was fucked up too, because it gets even worse. Okay, so I stayed with my dad for a while, and then she wanted me to come back and live with her again, even though I didn't want to because she's very controlling, very narcissistic. Really, at the end, after I really looked at it all and started really looking back at it, but it got really interesting because she wanted me to come back because she's like, "Oh well, wait," but she wanted my dad to pay her child support for me to live with him, and he's like, "Wait, that's not how this works. Unfortunately, the system doesn't
She
work
wanted
like."
child support for you living with your dad. Okay,
Yeah,
that
yeah, oh yeah,
sounds
oh
like,
yeah.
yeah.
It sounds
I don't
completely
think that
nuts.
works. I don't think it works that way.
It doesn't, you know what I'm saying? And then that's what I think that's the other thing I remember too that really pissed me off. It's like, really? Because all I am is a number to you now. And it's like, this is the person that's supposed to be love you. You know, they're your parent. And then you abandon me on a doorstep over a disagreement, or I don't even remember the exact thing, but it was something totally fucking stupid.
But that's
So you get that
criminal.
mad that you just drop me off, you leave me there. I'm left there alone for an hour waiting for my dad to come home. And then I'm with my dad, but at the same time, I'm left alone by myself for a while because he worked a lot of different hours, like nights and stuff like that. So he was never home. So I was always spent a lot of time by myself and things like that too. But like that's the one thing I always flashed in my head was that she said that to him. Oh well, she wants you to come back because she doesn't want to pay child support for you. I'm like, oh really? So you don't want to pay for me to live somewhere else that you dropped me off at? And then to this day, I still have this grudge against her. Like I don't talk to her as much. And I know she wants to have a relationship, but it's like it's getting past that point is where it's so tough for me because you waited all these years.
Yeah, but
I'm
that's severe abandonment right there.
You know what I'm
Easily.
saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you have to go through all your, you deal with all this stuff. And then I think the next trigger point for me is when I called her when I had my oldest daughter, I was like 19, I'm a dumb kid. We had a kid, 19. I was at least there. I was taking care of her, things like that. I was still in really bad shape, like mentally. I was not okay to be around anybody. So I ended up having a daughter at 19, called and told her about it. She freaked out. Brandon, when I tell you I could hold the phone this far with my ear, you could still hear her screaming. I
Yeah.
remember that. That's the other point where it was just like, yeah, okay, I'm done. So I stopped talking to her for 13 years after that because it was just so I was just so pissed. I was like, forget this, because that grudge thing came back again. And I held a hell of a hard grudge about it. And then I finally, then after that was when I saw her, was when I had twins with my ex, who's completely psycho. We were at my brother's wedding is when we all saw each other for the first time in a long time, and that's when we started having a talking relationship where we kind of talk here and there. And that's where we're at now. It's just kind of like here and there. I'll try to call her and remember to call her and things like that too. And it's just always, at first it was real awkward, but it's getting better. But I'm still having trouble with that forgiveness thing of Nick, it happened. Because I know she'll never admit she did anything wrong. She won't ever say it. She's just that type of person. So now I have to I have to deal with it myself, that I'm not going to get an answer back from her. So, that's the other thing I deal with currently is my biggest struggle I have and stuff like that, and it's just real rough, man. It's tough to do, but I get the whole holding grudges thing, man. Cause like I said, depending on your star sign, like I've been really getting big into astrology and things like that too. You start learning a lot of these characteristics, a lot of these star signs have, you start seeing them in people.
For
And
me though, it's like a grudge against myself. Like I've been battling myself
yeah,
for the longest time, and even when I'm not fighting myself, there's something about myself that myself doesn't like.
yeah, no, I
And it's
agree.
really funny that like that is my main thing is I find it easier to deal with arrogant strangers than I do with my own dark side. My own dark side has really given me a shit kicking over the last at least 30 years.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I did come across not a funny one, like a good meme the other day. It was that you spend a lot of time battling your weaker self.
yeah,
That's the self that wants to stay in bed. That's the stuff that wants to have a cigarette and gets one. That's the stuff that wants to have a drink and drinks it. That's the one that doesn't go to the gym. That's the one that doesn't look for that dream job. That's the one that doesn't have good relationships with his spouse or his relatives or his friends. That weaker self is the self you're fighting the whole time. And that's probably the hardest war you're going to ever fight
yeah.
in
No, I agree.
this. Yeah, is
No,
fighting your weaker self.
I agree. I think it's a great meme. The one that got the show started, actually, it got me into mental health was actually a Robin Williams meme, and I was a huge Robin Williams fan. To
Yeah,
find out, you know, all
I
the,
cried when I got that news.
you know, when I found out all the things he dealt with and all the stuff, when I really dug into the things that he was dealing with, and it
Yeah,
was just, I was like, oh my god, dude, you never even know. Robin never let you know though, but
I
I
did,
forgot what.
Pete. I did know that about him. I did know that his crashes were pretty devastating, and yeah,
Yeah,
not.
after looking into the situation, you know, because I was really young, and when he passed away and things like that, I didn't really look into it till then, and then I started getting like interested in it, and then I saw a meme that his picture was on, and it was talking about how people basically say they're okay, but they're not okay, and I
Yeah,
was like, you know, that's so true, and then all of a sudden, it just hit me for the name of the show was Pete versus Anxiety because I battle my anxiety every day, you know, so
absolutely.
and this is more of a it's more of a creating a safe space and a healing journey for me at the same time because the more I talk about my stuff, I feel a little bit better and it gets easier to have a
Yeah,
conversation. I was actually was a guest on another show the other day. I actually revealed the whole story of what happened with me and my mom. So I will definitely plug in that when that one comes out for people to check out to see and listen to the whole thing. You know, you'll hear the whole gritty details, you know, because me and another person we were talking about my narcissistic ex and that show, and dude, let me tell you, when people were messaging me, they're like, "Man, I'm so triggered by what you were saying," but at the same time, I could relate to what's happening, and it was so powerful because all it was is that me and my guest Darla Rodelia, she has a podcast called "You Have the Power." She
yes.
was talking about her own situation, narcissistic, her exes, you know, and I had another person prior to that as an author, Mia Hanks, came on, and her situation, Mia's situation was brand. She couldn't even be on the camera. That's how bad her situation was with her ex but she had written a book called Bridemaid that is about her journey and her struggles with her ex, who is a narcissist. You know, and he was a covert narcissist. For everybody that doesn't know what that means, basically means that
No,
he
I hadn't
presents
heard
them.
that phrase before.
Okay, so basically what it means is they present as like, oh, they're such a great person. So like, if for someone were to tell you like, you know, oh, they look so, you know, they put a public image out so good that like, if they were to tell you something negative, you'd be like, nah, no, that's not true. They would
So
never do that.
like where kindness is a strategy instead of a virtue.
Yeah, they work to keep themselves looking good in front of everybody else so that when something that happens in the home front, if the victim were to say something, they would like it'd be hard to believe that, you know, they would do it. Say like they put you on a pedestal and then, you know, that pedestal where they're at, they try to stay. So they could try to keep it that way. But in the back scene, the victim is the one that's getting all the controlling, you know, them controlling everything, controlling who they go, what they do, all those other kind of stuff that normal narcissists would do. But this one would put on a projection that, hey, I'm the greatest person in the world. So my mom did the same thing. My ex did the same thing. You know, they put on these images like, oh, well, they're the world's greatest mom and everything else. That's why mom would give off that vibe like world's greatest mom. And I think that's what pisses me off is I was like, I never knew it till then when I found out what that word actually meant, what a covert was myself. I didn't think of it that way. But
That
now
is an
when
interesting. That is an interesting kind of diagnosis. A covert narcissist. Okay.
yeah, that's what they refer to it as a covert narcissist, because basically that's what you're doing. You're putting on your picture and you're trying to keep it in the back scenes that you're really narcissistic. So you don't want people to see this. So that image you're putting out, my mom would do the same thing, like that world's greatest mom thing, and that would always trigger me every time she did it. It would just piss me
Oh
off
dear.
because I knew what happened in the back scene. Like she physically beat the shit out of me one time. Like Brandon, when I tell you she was stomping the fuck out of me right in front of the dresser. That's how bad of a beating I took one time because I don't even remember what it was that happened, but she was just like she just stomped the hell out of me one time and I think that was the one thing I always remember that too, because every time she put on that front, that's the one thing I shoot back to is that moment where you got the tar beat out you and you're just like, yeah, yeah, okay, you're putting on front now. And then for whatever reason, it angered me. And I didn't realize that's what it was until I started digging the mental health space and started learning more about this stuff as I, you know, before I even started this show. And I found that out that that's what the case was, that that's what you would call it. Because my ex was the same way too. She's psycho beyond belief.
Mhm.
And it's not just like you tell people, oh, this woman's crazy kind of thing. No, this woman literally was. She was the same thing, controlled people. She'd lie to everybody around her. And I'm watching her lie. And then she would threaten me that she would take the kids if I told anybody she was lying, you know, and things like that too. And she was she's very good at gaslighting too. So she like made me question reality and things like that as well. You know, and it was rough, man. I went through a rough time. Like I was drinking a lot. I wasn't sleeping a lot. So a lot of those things were playing
Well, now
factors. So
you've channeled it into a successful podcast. So there you go.
exactly, you know, and it was just like, I think that, you know, the journey I've gone on is great to get here to this point. Cause if not, this show wouldn't exist, man. And the
That's
demand for
right.
the show is
I know. I like
incredibly,
thinking all that stuff is, like all the, the reasons that you had to go through what you went through. And
Are you really?
And then using what you went through so that nobody else has to go through it, or if people have gone through it, you can commiserate with them, and or you have a huge,
Yeah.
an amazing story to tell before you leave the planet.
I'm thinking of writing a book. Actually, I'm thinking of writing a self memoir. A lot of people told me I should.
Eat that, Pete. Eat that elephant one bite at a time. If you're
Yeah.
thinking about writing a book, start it. You don't have to finish it in one day.
Oh no.
You can
I'm gonna
finish
take
it
my
in
time. Make
5 years. Mine took roughly 10 years to get out completely, the first one.
Yeah.
The poetry books were written over a period of months. There's no more there aren't any more poetry chapbooks in circulation. I take them to my events though, like just to read.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like if you've got a book, it is a beast. Finishing a book and writing a book and printing a book and all that stuff, even if it's self-published. If it's self-published, the onus is on you to sell it, to get it done. There are plenty of ways. People are going to tell you a million different ways and a million different things about how to publish and get your book out there. I think I chose the best one for me right now.
Yeah.
Is to simply go to the website and buy it. It's all set up there. And like I said at the beginning of the show, that when you go to the website and buy the book, you're buying the book. You don't have to pay postage. I'm putting the postage up front. I can mail it to, Nepal if you want me to, and you can read it in Nepal while you bask in the glory of our great Buddha.
Yeah, I thought about it, man. The great thing though of the show is that I've made a lot of connections. Other authors too have told me the same thing. They're like,
I'm
hey,
so happy this is happening for you because I'm kind of on your coattails right now, buddy.
I definitely, man. Listen, I don't mind having people come on. Like I said, I control manifest my own destiny on this show.
That's
I
right.
choose who comes here, and like I said, I discovered a lot of things, man. Since the beginning of this thing, I found out I'm very energy sensitive. I'm an empath, and it all makes sense though if you think about it. When I start discovering these things, like from the beginning to where I'm now, the interviews have changed a lot too. They're a lot more smoother and things like that too. The people I have,
you get better at your craft as you go along. You get better at the ums and ahs and the pauses and the segues and all that kind of stuff. It does happen, and you don't even need to go to school for it. I did Toastmasters for like 3 years.
What's that exactly?
The Toastmasters Club. It's a public speaking club.
Oh, okay.
And it's international. And I think it's based out of somewhere in California, but it's called Toastmasters, International Club for International Speakers.
Yeah.
And it's in every town and every city. There's a little club of Toastmasters that you go maybe like once every month. Yeah. And you practice public speaking. You practice, and it really hones your chops. You learn your place. You learn to choose your moments. I'm still not an expert, but I did Toastmaster for 3 years. I'm working on mine as we go.
You got to be pretty good though, man. You're a comedian, okay? Think about it. You got to be on stage and deal with people in general and deliver the jokes.
My only big one right now is because I don't want to blame anything on my diagnosis or my condition, but my big one is I want to listen more intently and to grasp more of what the other person is saying. Instead of focusing on the next thing coming out of my mouth.
Yeah,
that's how it's working now for me, and I'm really hoping that it rubs off on my wife, so that my wife and I can have conversations where I am listening intently, and I want to be the best listener she's ever been with. So
yeah, no, I mean that makes sense. It makes sense to listen to your partner. I think that's the greatest strength that me and my wife
listening
have.
And hearing at the same time, and not taking anything for granted. I brought up my wife again. We just got married. We've been together forever.
Well, awesome, man.
We've been together
for congratulations.
Yeah, we've been together forever. We've been together since 2009.
Yeah.
Got married 2 weeks ago.
Hey, where'd they go? Well, that's awesome.
And to be honest, it was one of the best days of my life. That wedding.
I bet it was, man. It had to be. Mine was a great time too. I met my wife. We actually knew each other for a year before we got married. Yeah, but we had such a strong connection, and things, But me and her, I think that's the greatest strength. We have those conversation. Like I'm working on my end, listening better and not reacting so much. But
I mean, it's a process that's ongoing, Pete. Right?
Yeah.
It's always ironing itself out, and you're always learning something new, something small every day. Sometimes something big. Don't say that. It's just yeah.
Yeah. All right, Brandon. We're at the part of the show where I ask you a very interesting question. Okay. So this comes
Let's
credit
do
to
it.
my good friend Gretchen, who runs a podcast called The Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. Now, Gretchen and I interviewed when she was on this show. She asked me the question. She said, Pete, if your mental health had a song, what would it be? So my question is the same exact thing, Brandon. If your mental health was a song, what would it be? And it could be any song you want it to be. You could break it down any way you want to. It's really your answer.
If my mental health was a song, what would
it be?
What would the song be? And we're choosing like a real song.
You can pick a real song. Yeah.
Are you familiar with the artist? Are you familiar with Matthew Good?
No.
Nobody is. He's a Canadian indie rock singer who's been around since the mid '90s, and he's out of a place close to Vancouver called Port Coquitlam.
Okay.
And I've been following him. I fell in love with his music in the late '90s because of his videos were incredible. I'm leading up to this. He's got a song that the first one that popped into my head, Pete. There's probably at least 36 mental health songs for me because music is so damn important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to music all the time. I'm a Spotify junkie.
Me too.
The song is by Matthew Good, and the song is called Near Fantastica.
Okay, I'll have to check it out for sure.
It's an 8-minute song, which is really cool.
So you have Meatloaf style. I got you. Okay.
It is, yeah. The man loves his 8-minute songs. It's not really as lyrically driven as you want a mental health song to be.
No, it could be all about the rhythm, the music, the guitar.
It is. It's a really cool jam. And so yeah, but I mean, you could ask me that question tomorrow, and it would be a different song. Like, or ask me that question 2 hours from now. Yeah. So
I might just have to randomly ask you, Brandon, what's your mental health song right now, and just see what you respond.
Yeah, today it's "Ahead by a Century" by the Tragically Hip. I don't know. Yeah,
it was an interesting question because she asked me that. And I was like, damn. And I've had some people go like, man, that's a good question. We had last week. You had 4-time bestseller Anne Marie on, and she was sitting there for a minute. She's like,
it came to me right away, Pete. It came to me right away.
A lot of times it does. Some people like they hear the question and then they're like, damn, that's such a good question. That was their response. A lot of times, like, man, it's a really good question because it is. And music's big for me too. Like,
and if you're on Spotify, go to look up Matthew Good and follow him too. He doesn't have as many followers as I'd like him to have.
I'll go check him out. I like to follow a lot of people because funny thing is TikTok's where I discover a lot of other bands like Live August, Alive and Stone.
I'm really keen on the new music these days. There's a band called bunch of guys called Band of Horses that have some really good tunes. They're new to me. They've been out for quite a while, but they're new to me. There's another one called Manchester Orchestra. That's also like I'm really trying to get out of my funk with music and stop being so narrow-minded.
What kind of music do you like though? Do you like rock, metal?
I'm all over the map. I don't. There are a few genres of music that I don't like the horror rock and I'm not really into classical. But I would say I'm big into indie rock and hip hop. I also like chick rock. I like women lead singers of rock and roll bands. That's a big thing for me.
What is it? We had what's it? Why can't I think of her name now? Lucy Lenore of the band called Haunter has been on this show.
Okay.
She's a real good friend of mine, and we talk all the time ever since then. It was really cool. Chick's got like 20,000 followers on Instagram alone. See my comment came on. She's the one that actually revealed that she had BPD. Was telling her experience that way, but she's a good band to check out.
What's the band called again, Pete?
It's called Haunters. The band.
Haunter. Okay, yeah, I'll write that down.
She's got an amazing voice, dude. She has an amazing voice. There's another band called Let Me Bleed. It's run by a guy. The lead singer name is Eddie. Guy is, oh my god!
I have heard that band referred to before, but I've never listened to them.
You probably heard them recently because he did the cover to the "Bring Me to the Rising" song, 10 Statues That Bleed Blood. Oh my God, he did an amazing cover of that
Yeah.
song.
Like
But Eddie has been
you're
writing some
in the
great
right
stuff.
vein with me, Pete. Music is such an important. When I'm working, when I'm writing, when I'm cutting the grass, I've got my headphones on.
Hmm.
I've got a massive playlist for my workouts, which I gotta get to the gym. And yeah, I've got music is such an important
Yeah, it is,
facet
man.
of my
I think it
mental
is in
health.
general. I think it's for everybody's mental health, really is. Think about it, because like Pop Roach did that song, "Leave a Light On," talk away the dark. It was talking about suicide. And
Yeah.
a bunch of other ones, and the Last Resort kind of talked about it for a bit too. But another good band, in case you haven't checked out, was called my buddy Alex. He runs one called Live and Stone. He was a
Live
guest
in
on the show.
Stone. Okay.
He was really good. He's really good rock, really great songs. I found him on TikTok too. Another guy, Lives Lost. I don't know if they fall into something like, but you might want to check them out. Tanis and the guys, they are big mental health advocates.
Okay.
Tanis and one of the guys were on the show. I think it was Chad, one of the guitarists were on the show. Me and him were hanging out and talking, but their big premise of their songs are mental health in general.
Yeah.
And there's another band. I don't know if you like more of like the closer to the punk rock, kind of faster pace, but called Spirits. I think they're an emo band if I remember.
Spirits.
But they're a huge mental health advocates though. The lead singer of the band is on TikTok a lot live. He
Okay.
goes live a lot of times, and they have a Facebook group called Spirit World that's
Okay.
really big and all that kind of stuff. So I've been trying to lock in a date with them too. And the same thing with Eddie from Alive and Stone for Let Me Bleed. I've been trying to get him on too because the dude is a genius. Like everything he puts
Yeah.
out is just
That's what,
phenomenal.
like, I mean, if you're in the mental health world, it's not about having professionals like psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, not just that angle all the time.
Hmm.
Have artists on, have
Oh, I
musicians on,
do.
have
Oh,
writers on.
I'll
Yeah,
tell you right now,
that's the
Brandon.
thing that
Anybody,
snackable mental health is, right? So,
I don't push away anybody from this show. I think I very rarely have said no to someone, and if I said no,
yeah,
it's
I'm
probably because
so
they don't.
grateful for you to have me on so quickly. That was awesome.
Yeah.
We talked roughly 3 days ago, and you were like, "I think I have a spot," and I'm like, "I'm definitely coming to that."
Yeah, and like I said, if I feel strong enough about it, I'll move stuff around and pop people in where I need to at the last minute because a lot of people can't fill last minute spots, and it happens. People can't, so I understand things happen. Our guest that was
Yeah,
supposed to be here, she'll actually be here next Tuesday. She is a celebrity something. I can't remember exactly. Cal, I'm sorry if you're listening to this. I'm not trying to. I'm trying not
it's
trying
all
to
right.
discredit her at all, but I just can't think of exactly the full rundown. But she was something pretty good too. I've heard part of her interview with somebody else, another show she did with somebody called Mentally a Badass. But I do have a few other shows to refer you to. The great thing about
Nice.
podcasters, shout out to I have to look this up really fast. It's called Podcasting Made Simple. Okay, they did an episode with the guest, and the guest said that podcasting hosts are your best networking thing ever. So credit to them because it was actually true. Because now what I'm going to do is after we're done with this interview and we client off, I'm going to take you and send you to pretty much everybody I know and say, hey, listen, I got this person. What do y'all think? Are you interested? Because my good friend Catherine, she does a podcast called The Will of Healing Matters and things like that. She loves great stories. So like I said, I'll send you her way. She actually wrote a book, so she'll be here too. Eventually, we got to figure out a date for her. And the great thing is, man, I like to share you with everybody. I share everybody with everybody I talk to, anyways. If
Yeah,
I feel like they're really
absolutely.
good. And it's the same thing with the other guys too that I talk to. All of us like to share each other, and we like to network. So you better believe as soon as this is over, we're gonna send you off to some other people, see who else we can get you on with. There's another one I'm thinking of. I don't know if she's got time right this minute, but I'm definitely gonna try and get you on one called Emotionally Unavailable. You might want to check this one out. This one's
I
great.
like that term.
The woman.
I've often used I'm apologetically myself, not
Oh my God,
unapologetically.
you'll
I
love my
will
buddy.
say I'm sorry to you first before I talk to you.
You'll love her, bro.
That's
Trust me.
Canadian,
She's
right?
nice.
I mean, that's a full Canadian thing, right? So yeah.
Brandon, you'll love her. Trust me. My good friend Melissa runs that podcast. She's like my second or third interview I did when I was doing podcast guest spots a lot because I still do them now. But she was fun to talk to, man. I have to say, you'll have a blast with her, bro. If you're having a
Nice.
good time here, you will have a blast with her because
Hook
she
me
does
up, bud.
things. I most definitely will. She is hilarious, bro. You'll love her though. But I would definitely check out some of her stuff too if you ever get a chance. You always listen to her stuff.
Absolutely.
Because I'm always listening to podcasts all the time. So I cycle through a whole bunch of them. But she and I had an interview, man. I'm telling you, it was so much fun. I'll have to send you our interview. You can listen to it, but she's just great. That woman
Beautiful.
tried to blame me. By the way, she tried to blame me for having to make it adult content because she said the F word. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we can say fuck on here. So let's go for it. So we were going back and forth.
That's
Just
right.
saying.
I
So
dropped an
as we
S
get
bomb.
ready,
I dropped an S bomb, but I've been trying to think of ways to make shit not a swear word. And I think in Canada it actually is no longer a swear word, but you have to say it SCHITT.
oh, okay.
Say it that way. That it's like a last name. It's not really a pile of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I've been to Canada. The only closest place I've been was Thunder Bay's, right? Because I had an uncle
Okay,
who lived
where are
there.
you? You're in.
I'm in Texas currently. I'm originally from
Okay.
Chicago, but I'm currently reside in Texas though right now. So,
Okay.
but my dad is from Canada though too, and he lived in the Thunder Bay area for a while too. And I
Thunder
don't
Bay.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember where else he lived though too. 'Cause my grandfather had owned a resort up there and everything like that too. So he was spent a lot of time.
I think Texas is closer to me than Thunder Bay is.
Probably is.
Yeah. It's
It probably
way north.
He's like, I'm above that border, guys.
Yeah.
So, all right, but as we get ready to start closing up, Brandon, do you want to go ahead and plug where everybody can find you, your Instagram, wherever you want to send everybody, so in case they want to reach out to you and find you, where can they find you?
Guys, I would simply just Google snackable mental health. It's the first thing that comes up. I had a very adept search engine optimizer work with me on the beginnings of what is now a pretty cool website, I think. It's snackablementalhealth.ca. On that, there's a blog, there's the podcast, there's a monthly newsletter. What else? Yeah, you can buy T-shirts. I've got pretty much every size and every color. And above all else, the book is way more important to me than anything else, is to get that book in as many hands as possible. And hope you enjoy the ride. I've had some people buy a dozen books and spread them out over their city in coffee houses and those little free libraries you see on lawns some places. Yeah, and the next book comes out in about a month, maybe another 2 months, at the end of the summer for sure. It's called Trigger Happy 2 Glimmer Edition. Snackable Mental Health group on Facebook, Snackable Mental Health on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, and yeah, please. And like even with Pete here, anytime you go onto one of your websites, or make sure you follow and subscribe. It really helps the author. It really helps the host that, to be able to kind of not just monetize, but to get out there on the international level, which is something I really aspire to do. I'd love to go speak in the UK. That's another thing I'm available to do, is speak for your club or your group. I'm a conditioned mental health advocate, and I really love the idea of getting a positive message out there. And I once again have to apologize if something came through my non-filtered mouth. It's just dissociating, Brandon.
No, you're okay. That's all right. You can say what you like here. This is our safe space. We can say
That's right.
what we like here. We're not like Melissa, who likes to put people on blast. Okay,
That's
friend.
right.
But anyways, guys, I'm Pete for Anxiety. You know where to find me as always. I'm on next on TikTok. I'm on Spotify, all the way down to iHeartRadio, guys. And I have a major announcement to make that going in October, we are no longer going to be live all week. We're only going to be live on Mondays. I've made a decision that I'm going to change up the schedule a bit. I do have a Patreon coming, everybody, so stay tuned. I am hard at work getting that working up, so I will definitely get that posted as soon as I'm ready to start introducing everyone else to it. And Brandon, thank you so much for coming, man. It was a great time having you here, brother. I look forward to the book. I'll definitely have to check out it. I know Karen's sending me the first one, so I can check it out for sure, so I can read it. I'm definitely going to check it out and look through it, because it's going to be cherished. I love it, man. I think the title is great. I think the underlining title is great. I just love everything about it, man. And if you write another book, hit me up, man. We are definitely have you come back, and we can have another great time talking about it, guys. And as I always say, it costs absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you do can save someone's life, or hell, you can even save their day. I'm Pete for Anxiety, signing up saying, hey, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health today?